It is June 10th. It's Tuesday now. Gonna continue attempting to read Witch King by Martha Wells. We were on page 128 yesterday. I will have to reread that page. And we'll continue. Also on page 128, we confirm that Kai had some kind of relationship with... That's a horrifying statement. But Kai had some kind of relationship with the guy Bashasa in the past, when Kai is in the body of a young girl whose dead body is never going to age because she's dead, and Kai is in her body. And Bashasa is clearly a fully grown adult. After Martha Wells spent the entire first 99 pages establishing that Enna, E-N-N-A, I will have to fix the transcripts for all of these, because the YouTube is like, oh, you mean Anna with an A? No, E-N-N-A. Nope, wrong button. I'm guessing she decided to retcon the pedophilia out of the story on page 100 because now she wants to ship Kai and a fully grown adult together while Kai is still in the body of a dead girl. A dead young girl. A small youth. And that's why she's decided to retcon it and pretend, oh no, actually, Enna, the dead small youth, was actually a fully grown adult this whole time. No, she wasn't. You're a liar. You literally made it pedophilia. You went out of your way to make it pedophilia. And then that pedophilia is just treated as totally normal and totally fine, morally neutral, totally fine. And then say that the Native American coded, indigenous coded people that were doing this pedophilia were genocided for consorting with demons and making deals with demons, a thing they were actually factually fucking doing. Sex trafficking children for the purposes of pedophilia and eugenics, forced breeding. Literally, Kai is only on the mortal realm, or whatever the fuck we're calling it, as part of a sex trafficking of children eugenics plan to make half-demon, half-mortal children. That's sex trafficking. That's pedophilia. And it's eugenics. All of those things. All of that was very firmly established. And this is why, factually, correctly why, the Native American coded indigenous brown people were genocided for a thing they actually literally were doing. Martha Wells literally decided that the Native American coded people in this story were genocided for making a deal with demons. The thing they were literally doing. She's literally doing genocide apologism. Saying that real life indigenous groups were genocided for making deals with the devil. A thing that has literally been used in real life to justify genocide, and now she fucking decided, yep, that's why the indigenous coded, Native American coded in particular, people in this story were genocided too. Even though it's true. These people were literally making deals with demons. They were literally doing sex trafficking and sacrificing their children to get demon slaves. That's literally all true. But we're supposed to pretend it's not true because if the child victim of sex trafficking likes the people who are sex trafficking him, that means it's not sex trafficking. As though that's not just describing grooming and being traumatized and brainwashed. I haven't even started rereading page 128 right now. Actually, I think I will just read it to you. At least the fucking top part. Because I started on that whole rant because... let me flip back to page 127.
Well, no, there's some construction going on in the background.
There's some construction going on in the background here. You're going to hear noises. I'm not at the pet sitting place anymore, so there's no more huskies that are going to be howling, yodeling to interrupt. But we're putting together some shelves. On page 127 at the bottom, Ziti snorted under her breath. Be careful, Kai. Of what? There was so much to choose from right now. You know what I mean. He sat back and stared at her. I don't. Silently, she said, Ramad reminds you of Bashasa. He does not, Kai said aloud, offended. Ziti! Ignoring him, she continued with the little pearl in their heart that should kill them, but whatever. He's kind in his way, or pretending to be, and he has the same nose. He's probably distantly related, you know. He's probably distantly related, comma, you know how many relatives that family had, comma, despite all the ones who were murdered. Kai didn't know whether to go with anger or try to laugh it away. Since it was Ziti, he tried the truth and said, Don't poke me in places that hurt. She sighed and leaned against him. Sorry. So we're now establishing that Kai had some kind of intimate relationship, probably a sexual relationship, knowing Martha Wells, with Bashasa in the past, when Kai was in the body of a dead fucking child. When Kai was a child. There's been no hint at all of how much time is supposed to be passing in the past timeline. As far as I know, it could be like a few months after Aredi. What the fuck was his name? Was his name Aredi?
They were expecting Kai to have kids when he was 4 years old, for the record.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not him being 4 years old. He wasn't born on that day.
Okay.
No commentary. Nope. Yeah, we're now being told, implied heavily, that Kai and Bashasa, the guy from the past that rescued him from the Cageling Demon Court, had some kind of very intimate relationship. And knowing Martha Wells, that probably means a sexual relationship. She seems to be aromantic, but not aware of what aromantic means. And, which has nothing to do with anything, but she's just terrible at writing. Being aromantic is not an excuse for being shit at writing. Yeah, it's being implied that Kai had some kind of relationship with Bashasa, the fully grown man, while Kai was in the body of a dead child in the past. And as far as we know, because it's kind of implied isn't really the right word, because implying sort of kind of implies that you're doing it on purpose. It's implied that Kai is still a child when he is locked in the demon court, because we're told that he was sobbing and screaming for his grandmother until his throat was raw or something like that, implying that he's still a little child, a literal child, in the body of a child, a body that will never age. So, are you literally telling me, Martha Wells, that Kai first was sex trafficked as a child, groomed as a child, and then is in a relationship with a fully grown fucking adult as a child in the body of a child? Is that what we're going with here? But it's okay because it's gay and queer. That makes pedophilia okay, right? According to Martha Wells? Who fucking knows? Let's continue goddamn reading, shall we? Alright, here's just another badly fucking structured thing. They watched the moon in silence together, comma, while Kai struggled to find his composure, period, as if it was a lost object he had left somewhere, period. If the lost object is supposed to be his composure, that should be a comma. While Kai struggled to find his composure, comma, as if it was a lost object. You can't just have that completely separate sentence. That's not how you fucking do that. And then we have another sentence following that, separated by a period. Probably back in Benes Arik, 60 years ago, period. And then he says to Ziti, you should go get some rest while you can. Tenez, you too, because she's just been in the room this whole time. Not being mentioned. Not doing anything. And that's when Ziti says, I don't need rest, I'm fueled by spite. And then there's a sentence at the very bottom of the page, 128. The rising world prevented... I guess I gotta read the top part of this paragraph, too. Oh, don't knock my phone over, pretty kitty. There had always been immortal blessed who wanted to return to the position they had held before the hierarchs, extracting tribute and taxes from the small polities in the north and doing whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted. The rising world prevented all that. Under its treaties, all coalition members were equal under Benes Arik's leadership, and the immortal blessed power was strictly contained within the blessed lands. It had been a small price to pay for a former ally of the hierarchs. If not for Taren, the coalition might have demanded that the blessed be utterly destroyed. And then we're just supposed to act like we know what the fuck any of this means and care about it, because this is being written like it's the fourth book in a long-running series that we've all expected to have read the first 3 books of. Because Martha Wells writes her original fiction like it's fan fiction, which isn't how you write original fiction. That's you being objectively fucking bad at writing. Now we're on page 129. And we're just still chatting about the fucking plot. Not doing the plot. They're still on this fucking boat. Kai's changing the subject. Do you think Ashem is right about Sanja? This isn't going to get any less dangerous. No. Ziti looked off into the dark, the light from the imps reflecting off her eyes, because I guess we have finally remembered that those imps are in the room, because they have not been mentioned since it was said that Kai told them to float upwards. If we ever reach a safer place, I won't send her away, but I will give her every opportunity to run, just like the others. So they're literally saying, no, it is our right, and it is good for us to keep this child with us and torture people in front of her and take her into purposefully dangerous situations, because Martha Wells really wants to fucking pretend that this is going to be a found family story with enemies to lovers, speed run completely off page so that it's meaningless. She doesn't really seem to grasp, like many authors that are publishing books these days in specific genres. She seems to think that tropes, just in and of themselves, existing within the story, means that the tropes are being done well. Just like, I won't get into that. Go watch me play Alien Isolation. Go do that. They're like, we could use the Well of Thosarin, the thing that's supposed to power the ship but doesn't power the ship. We could use that to summon an immortal marshal. So add that to the checklist. I think that's number 33. I think I had to wash it off my arm, or otherwise I would have gotten marker all over my face while I was asleep. But I did count afterward. I took a picture of it before I washed it off, and then I was counting retroactively. I think we're at 33 of... we're just going to get told a thing that didn't exist. until this moment, no matter what. So apparently they can use the Well of Thosarin, the thing that's supposed to power the ship, to summon an immortal marshal. And then Zedi says, Kai admitted, we might have to fight. Anyone we call could be involved in the plot against us. Zedi's voice was wry. Kai, I will do anything to find Ta-Ren, even invoke my kin right. He hated to ask her to do that, but it was better than just summoning a random immortal marshal. That's 34, because that's never gonna get explained. I can fucking all but guarantee you. What the fuck, Martha Wells? Jesus Christ. Zedi's gaze turned inward. How did it come to this, Kai? I remember how we started. Now you're all razor barbs and I'm an angry shrew. She's calling her own character, her own female character, an angry shrew. She's doing the misogyny herself. After making Zedi have literally no personality except say edgy things, make edgy threats, and ask where her wife is. And have the male character tell us that she's worried about her wife. That's all Zedi is. And now Martha Wells is calling her an angry shrew.
How many pages is it?
This is page 130. You can maybe fucking see that there. It's backwards.
She thinks lampshading her.
Martha Wells thinks that admitting that she's doing a bad... Ow! That hurt my knee! Cat's dropping a thing on my leg. The broom. No, it's not even a broom. That's the fucking thing. Martha Wells thinks that admitting in the text that she's doing the bad, bigoted thing means that she's not doing the bad, bigoted thing. Nobody was gonna call Zedi a fucking angry shrew, but now Martha Wells has gone out of her way to call her own female character an angry shrew. After literally letting her have no personality except saying edgy things, making edgy threats, being mean to kids, and saying, "Where's my wife?" She doesn't even say, "Where's my wife?" Martha Wells just has Kai say she's worried about her wife. And now Martha Wells is calling her an angry shrew. No, he said, stung by that description of herself. You're righteously furious. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, he said, stung by that description of herself. You're righteously furious. You've always had the high ground, Zedi. Don't let them say you don't. She was still looking away into the dark. You're right about me and the razors, though. Most of the time, Kai felt like he was made of razors, bleeding from the inside. But Shadow, it just looks like you're walking normally. I know. Okay, well, that's stupid. What in the fuck? The lady who exists just to make edgy threats and specifically be cruel to children who have just 5 seconds ago been released from slavery, and now we're being told she's actually right about everything. Martha Wells went out of her way to call Zedi an angry shrew. Nobody was ever gonna call her that. None of the reviews have ever fucking referred to her as an angry shrew. What the fuck? Why are you invoking that against your own fucking character? Not even having a misogynistic character say it. Having the character herself say it. What is this shit? And now Kai's like, no, you're not an angry shrew. A thing nobody has ever fucking called you. You are righteously angry when you are mean to children who've just been released from very heavily implied sexual slavery by glaring at them and baring your teeth at them and telling them to fuck off. You're righteously angry. Don't let anyone ever tell you you're in the wrong. What the fuck is this? Most of the time, Kai felt like he was made of razors bleeding from the inside. Look at this shit. You probably can't read it, but look at this. Look at this. She reached over and squeezed his hand. I've always liked your razors, Kai. They've cut us out of a number of tangles. But it would be good if one day you could stop bleeding. She stood and walked back into the light of the cabin. Kai let the imps on the upper deck flutter away so he could sit in the dark and watch the racing moon. So Martha Wells gets pissed off and strawmans the audience for the Murderbot Diaries for saying that they want Murderbot to be able to find self-worth and some way to cope with actually healthy coping mechanisms for its trauma. And she says, oh, so you want to cut Murderbot's brain out of its body and put it in a human body? Because people acknowledge that Murderbot is literally a human who has been dehumanized and violently dehumanized and mutilated and degendered forcefully to justify enslaving it. So they want Murderbot to realize the truth that it is human who has been dehumanized to justify enslaving it. And Martha Wells like, oh, you want to cut out Murderbot's brain? Because she literally thinks that if you have prosthetics, if you have any kind of surgery that puts stuff in you, if you have hardware, any kind of computer or prosthetics, anything in your brain at all, if you have like a hearing aid implant, that means you're not human in Martha Wells' eyes. Because human, she's literally like, I would not be surprised if she would claim that test tube babies aren't human, because like she's writing the Murderbot Diaries like she is literally the villain of all science fiction ever. She's Cassandra from Doctor Who. The only real humans are 100% pure organic humans. So Martha Wells strawmans and just makes up the most ridiculous bioessentialist, ableist shit, dehumanizingly ableist shit ever. When people say, I hope Murderbot can be happy someday and learn self-worth. And then she will literally just have characters in this book say completely unearned on page 130. It would be good if one day you could stop bleeding. And we're supposed to think that's touching.
And deep.
And deep. But there's I don't give a single fuck about these characters. They were just torturing people for funsies in front of 2 children, because I forgot Tenez was in that fucking room, because she literally exists. How many more people do you think they're going to check off? There's clearly a little mental checkbox that Martha Wells has going. We have 1 kid to check off. We got another kid to check off. To make this a found family. We'll fucking see. We are now in the past. The plan. And these ones don't have chapter titles or chapter numbers or anything. Let me check what battery my phone's at. It's at 43%. It's good enough. Now let's read this little thingamajig. The Well of Thosarin was said to be the first source of potency that could be taken from raw spirit form and shaped to usefulness by living beings. The immortal blessed use it for prosaic tasks that mortals are able to perform for themselves, yet claim to have created it via the sheer power of their collective faculty. But that is an unlikely bit of posturing. Wells of potential are created by great depths, like the well of the hierarchs, or the natural forces of the earth. Hold on. Great depth. D-E-A-T-H, not depth, like the ocean is deep. Like the well of the hierarchs, or the natural forces of the earth, from which the witches coax strands of power at will, or other means unknown, not because those of privilege will it. What? Huh? I'm just gonna reread that. I'll try to reread that. The Well of Thosarin was said to be the first source of potency that could be taken from raw spirit form and shaped to usefulness by living beings, period. The immortal blessed use it for prosaic tasks that mortals are able to perform for themselves, yet claim to have created it via the sheer power of their collective faculty. But that is an unlikely bit of posturing, period. Wells of potential are created by great deaths, comma, like the well of the hierarchs, comma, or the natural forces of the earth, comma, from which the witches coax strands of power at will, comma, or other means unknown. Dot, comma, whatever the fuck that is. Not because those of privilege will it. Sure? That's supposed to be some kind of, like, snappy, sassy statement. She's totally anti-capitalist, guys. Now ignore how she's shilling for Apple, despite Apple whitewashing her protagonist that she's been profiting off of telling everybody is a person of color for years. Ignore that. She's totally anti-capitalist, guys. She's writing supposed to be sassy little fucking things. The History of the Hierarch War, Volume 3, An Introduction to the Civilizations of the North and East, by an interested yet unbiased party. That's supposed to be funny and sassy. We're back with Bashasa, Kai, Zidi, and Teren in the Cageling Demon Court. We're not in the Cageling Demon Court anymore. I guess this is just next to the Cageling Demon Court. It's just irritating. Page 131. Long after the Sereti have been genocided for things they factually were literally doing, we get... let me just read these. This is just the first two paragraphs for this chapter that doesn't have a name. It's just the past, the plan. Bashasa and his reluctant guards led Kai, Zidi, and Teren to another room off the court, with a sunken hearth and rugs and seating cushions. That's paragraph 1. This is paragraph 2. All of what I'm about to read is paragraph 2. The Sereti clan tents had been divided up into spaces for sleeping and eating and talking. This was the same, except divided by stone walls rather than curtains. If this was the way the whole place was arranged and not just the hostage quarters, it seemed awkward. There was no obvious way to repartition the space when another family moved into the clan, or if you had a large number of visitors. But then Kai had... I'm not even reading that right, because there's no comma there. But then Kai had no idea how the hierarchs actually lived. Maybe they ate their families. Who knew? What? So, this is Martha Wells trying to pretend that people in tents don't understand the concept of buildings that are made of stone. This is literally Martha Wells trying to pretend that people who live in tents because they're nomadic and travel around a lot don't understand stone buildings. Literally, that's what she's doing. That's what she's doing right now. We're supposed to pretend that living in a tent means you're not going to grasp the concept and purpose behind a stone building. That's just racism and just ridiculousness. And then that whole paragraph ends with the absolutely baffling, maybe they ate their families. Who knew? So she's first saying that people who live in tents because they're nomadic are too stupid to understand how stone and permanent structures work. Then she's randomly implying, oh, maybe these guys are, the bad guys are cannibals. Because reasons? Literally no reason. That is not there for any fucking logical purpose at all. Maybe that's supposed to be funny. It's just fucking baffling and makes no sense. And also, I guess she didn't learn a single fucking thing from the thousands of fucking reviews that people wrote for the books of the Raksura explaining that she did all of the racist fucking tropes possible. If your bad guys are cannibals, you're a fucking racist, unless you are literally an actual black and brown person writing about the historical atrocities committed by white people, white British fucking people, including rich British people, literally 8 Egyptian mummies. But when white people decide that the bad guys of the story are cannibals, it's 1,000 fucking % white supremacy and racism. I don't care if you're writing it in 2025. If you have ever fucking read a book from, like, just go back to 1900 and start reading shit from there, that general fucking area, very many years surrounding that fucking time. Just go read shit go read Tarzan of the Apes. Go read that. Go to Project Gutenberg, Astounding Stories of Super Science. Just pick whatever fucking one you want. / Astounding Stories. They changed the name of the magazine a bunch. White people writing the bad guys in their stories to be cannibals, it's always racism. It's inherently racist. It is built on racism, and it is still fucking racist. It's just that these days, they usually make the inherently evil cannibals a different species, like in a fantasy world, like Martha Wells did with the Books of the Raxura, where she made inherently evil, cannibal, raping, flying orcs that are all pure black. But we're gonna pretend that's not racist, even though she did literally every racist trope in the fucking book. And usually for science fiction, they're just aliens from another planet. And they're probably gross looking in some way. And now, after this paragraph where Martha Wells pretends that people who live in tents just don't fucking understand the concept of stone buildings, she ends that with that's just a sentence. But then Kai had no idea how the hierarchs actually lived. Period. Maybe they ate their families, comma, who knew? Period. So now we're just implying the hierarchs are cannibals in a completely baffling way for no fucking reason at all. After saying that indigenous people, because Kai was raised among the indigenous people, saying that indigenous people just wouldn't grasp the concept of a permanent structure. Now we can actually turn the fucking page. Now we're on page 132. That was this page. Now we finally get to fucking turn the goddamn page. Jesus Christ. Now we see exactly one fucking instance of Martha Wells pretending that she's not a bioessentialist fucking bigot. She's just transmissic. She hates trans people. She especially hates non-binary people. Here we get Dahin, Taren's brother. He shows up. He's getting introduced. Someone had stepped into the... Bashasa says, Dahin, come in and sit with us. Someone had stepped into the doorway from the court. A young person, pale like Taran, except for a dusting of freckles across their cheeks, with short straw-colored hair. They were dressed like Taran, too, in a long, light-colored tunic with wide pants and a tabard. Bashasa said, this is Marshal Taran's brother, Dahin. So this is like the only fucking time in this whole book. Excluding... I guess that means that witch that I thought was non-binary is probably not actually non-binary, because we know that Dahin is a guy. We know that he is not non-binary. He's a dude. And then Martha Wells, for this tiny little paragraph, it's like that big on the page, just that long of a paragraph. She just decided at random to pretend we're not assuming his gender by referring to him as a person with they-them pronouns for literally just this little paragraph here between my thumb and that. See, she's totally progressive, guys. She's using they-them pronouns. Let's see. 1, 2 times. 2 times. There's 2 times. And then we said person. She used the word person once, and then they them pronouns twice in that they and them in that paragraph. When we already know that he is a dude, and this is just Martha Wells pretending like she's not presuming people's genders, and her characters aren't presuming people's genders, even though Kai just assumed both Sanja and Tenez's genders, and then Martha Wells even had the gall to type out probably female. She's a fucking bigot. She hates trans people and she does not want to fucking learn. She literally doesn't know what the word non-binary means. There was an interview with her that was published in February 2025, I think. It's on YouTube. Just look up Martha Wells interviews. You'll find it. It's like, just set it to this year or whatever. I don't know. An interview with her in February 2025. She literally doesn't know what the word non-binary means. Literally does not know what the word non-binary means in 2025. That's not... No, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not. So this is... She's pretending she doesn't assume genders, and neither do her characters, because she's totally progressive, guys. She totally likes trans and non-binary people. Totally. Don't ask why none of these characters are trans. Even though we literally assumed Sanja and Tenez's genders, and nobody's asking them otherwise, and I guarantee you they will not say, wait, you thought it was a girl? I'm not a she. What the fuck? No, that's not my fucking pronouns. That's never gonna happen. And if it does, I'll bet you $10. And I did bet $5 before for the Enelin thingamajig being a different species if they are actually having more than two genders. If I lose those bets by this book proving me wrong, I'll donate $5 and then I'll donate $10. I'll probably donate more than that, but to a fucking charity. Something. Where's that? Can you play a clip of that meme?
Which?
The Pacific Rim meme. My twin is here now because I'm not pet sitting anymore. Let me do that meme, assuming we can find it.
You can do just the audio.
Yeah, because I'm doing it on my phone. I don't have my laptop out here. We're going to do this meme. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it on the TV.
Never mind, this is the soundtrack.
That's dumb. Is it... We're looking for the meme. Just wait, and then I'll explain the meme. Can you, like, put minus OST or something? Or minus soundtrack? Wow.
People really like the soundtrack.
Maybe just search Kaiju double event meme. Just remove Pacific Rim for this fucking... Alright, this is ridiculous. The meme from Pacific Rim, which is a really fucking boring movie, where the guy's like, first the things came... First the commentary was every few pages, or chapters. I don't even think I ever managed to get through a single chapter without a thing, but for the sake of the meme. First... The stop for the commentary was every few chapters. Then it was every few pages. Then it was every few paragraphs. Now it's every other paragraphs. Soon we could be finding a thing where it's every few words. Because again, I have to stop. We're still on page 132. We're not even close to the halfway point of down this fucking page. Dahin came inside, hesitated, then dropped onto a cushion next to Kai. And in the same paragraph, because Martha Wells is bad at writing, Tahin said, Dahin. Don't make your characters' names this similar. Did you find it?
You must open on YouTube.
Even
Sign
though
in to confirm you're not a bot, even though you're signed in already.
don't make your characters' names
Not what it is.
spelled similarly, but presumably pronounced differently. If you're gonna name the siblings T-A-H-R-E-N and D-A-H-I-N, just have them have rhyming names. Because they look so similar. They're siblings. And it's just a difference between a T and a D noise. They're not that different. Taren said, Dahin. That's a demon. Just make them have rhyming names. Just make their parents be insufferable and make their names rhyme.
The meme does not want to play, but here it is. In the beginning, the kaiju attacks were spaced by 24 weeks, then 12, then 6, then every 2 weeks. The last one in Sydney was a week. In 4 days, we could be seeing a kaiju every 8 hours until they are coming every 4 minutes. Marshall, we should witness a double event within 7 days.
Yeah, that's the meme of me this. Because, like, if you're watching all of these videos in correct order, presuming you're not just picking this one up at random, if you are, hi, go watch the other ones or you're not going to have any clue what's going on.
Not that anybody who's watched has any clue what's going on.
I mean, true, but you at least get to see my commentary in order. I started off having to stop to do commentary every few pages. And just in the past, like, not many pages at all, it's just degraded so abruptly and is so acutely bad that now I have to stop. Like, I can't even get through a single paragraph before seeing the last line in that paragraph and having to stop. Dahin came inside, hesitated, then dropped onto a cushion next to Kai. Taren said, Dahin, that's a demon. Oh. Dahin looked at Kai blankly. So is it alright if I sit here? Martha Wells doesn't know how to write more than 1 or 2 or 3 characters. So this guy is just going to have the personality of Rafi and all of the other pure cinnamon roll people, pure cinnamon roll slave owners from the Murderbot Diaries, where they're just so nice and such pure cinnamon rolls. They're so nice. They don't know what bigotry is. Kai said yes. Dahin's resemblance to Taren ended at his clothes, hair, thin lips, and sharp features. There was no sense of power from him, no strange current of connection to something on an unearthly plane. He wasn't entirely mortal, though. Kai could tell. And it's just like, whatever. Kike said, What are you? Dahin's expression said no one had ever asked him that question before. He looked at Taren for help. Her mouth was stiff, as if this were the worst question in the world. She said, We are blessed. Were blessed. We have left their ranks. Kai knew immortal marshals were part of the immortal blessed. That had been obvious even to the Sereti, who before the war had thought them only stories. But he couldn't stop being a demon, so he didn't understand how an immortal blessed could just stop being an immortal blessed. Martha Wells, she did this with Murderbot too. Like, she keeps saying, oh, Murderbot can't just stop being a sec unit. It can, though. Because it's a cyborg. It's not a fucking robot. It's a cyborg. It can, in fact, just stop being a goddamn meat shield. She wants to take things like being a slave and being a dehumanized slave And then she wants to turn that into a metaphor for being autistic or something. Like, you can't stop being autistic. Fact. So therefore, it follows that you can't stop. Is that a Marlena? Nope, it's a Sapphire. You can see Sapphire. You want to come over here? You want to look at the camera? This is my bookmark. You can't get from it. You coming down here? She's just gonna sniff everything. Hello? You coming down here? She's walking right in front. Just don't knock the phone over. Excuse me. Excuse me, fluffy kitty. You can't sit there. You gonna come down here? You wanna sniff the book? It smells like dogs. Alright, watch out! Martha Wells wants to take slavery and make it a metaphor for things that slavery is not a fucking metaphor for, because she's racist. And she's just doing that shit again. Whatever. Zeddy says, It meant she fought for the hierarchs until it became personally inconvenient. And now this is supposed to be incorrect, I guess, because we know that these two are going to speed run completely off screen, the enemies to lovers trope. So Martha Wells is now again taking leftist talking points of you are fine working for the fantasy Nazis because they're the bad guys. The hierarchs are some kind of bad guy who goes around committing genocide and killing everybody. So they're the fantasy Nazis. So Taren was a fantasy Nazi and was happy to work for them until it became personally inconvenient. Basic statement from anybody who actually gives a shit about fighting Nazis of any kind. Top of page 133. Well, the bottom of page 132 starts it. But that's not what's making me sigh. Taren's expression after Zeddy says that. Taren's expression was somehow both stony and profoundly uncomfortable. Martha Wells keeps combining completely contradictory facial expressions as though that works. You can't do that. You can't be stony and profoundly uncomfortable. It's one or the other, because stony means you're not expressing any emotions besides going like that. That's a stony expression. That's a stony expression. There can be multiple stony expressions, including no expression at all. She can't be both stony and profoundly uncomfortable. Like, you could... I shouldn't have to fix this. I shouldn't have to do Martha Wells' job for her. But you could say her facial expression was stony, but her hands and her... like, she's moving her hands, her legs, the rest of her body in ways that shows she is completely uncomfortable, even though she has mastery over her facial expression, but not control over the grip. Maybe she's twisting her shirt or something in her hands in nervousness. Anything like that. I shouldn't have to do Martha Wells' job for her, and yet I am. Now we continue. Our patriarchs, capital P, has not been explained in any way, made the decision to grant the hierarchs petition for marshals to aid their forces. I did fight for them, period. I did break my sworn allegiance and turn against them for personal reasons. I have no problem with that at all. That's fine. That's cool. I don't give a fuck. Next. Dahin held up his hand. Me, period. I'm the personal reason, period. If you've read the Murderbot Diaries, you know exactly which characters Dahin is channeling right now, because it's one of the very few characters that Martha Wells is capable of writing. If you've read the books of the Raksura, you know exactly which characters Dahin is just the avatar, is shared avatar of, the basic archetype. pure cinnamon roll who just sits around and needs to be rescued. Why are you doing this? Ugh. So they're talking about Martha Wells can't even take her own writing seriously. She can't even take this shit seriously. Dahin explained he was going to be enslaved to some well of the hierarchs. This whole time I thought that the hierarchs and the immortal blessed and marshals and thing, I thought they were the same thing, but I guess the hierarchs, they are the specific fantasy Nazis, and then they hired the immortal blessed to join their fantasy Nazi army, and they said, yeah, sure, we're fine with that, let's become fantasy Nazis. So Ta-Ren disobeyed orders to the fantasy Nazis only to protect her brother from getting sacrificed to the well of the hierarchs. They were just gonna throw his soul in, and then he'd just become a shell of himself. And then Ta-Ren is like, blah blah blah. So yes, I did disobey the fantasy Nazis for a personal reason, a very personal reason. And then Zidi's like, I didn't say I disagreed with your reason. And then offers Ta-Ren a drink that apparently Ta-Ren thinks is gross. And then, betraying exasperation for the first time, Bashasa said, is that done now? ? Are we done with this? ? Oh my god, and it gets worse. So Martha Wells is expressing exasperation with the characters about her own writing. She's, again, this is called lampshading. She's lampshading the fact that her writing is terrible and is all over the fucking place and obnoxious. And she thinks that by acknowledging that makes it better. But it's like, no, you having Bashasa say, are you done now? Can we stop this now? Are we done yet? That's just making it worse, because now you are telling the person who originally paid $28.99 for this before donating it to Goodwill after getting to page 50. You're telling everybody who's ever read this book that you do know it's badly written. You know it's shit. You know it's infuriating and it's going nowhere. But you don't care. Let me just read this paragraph. Betraying exasperation for the first time, Bashasa said, is that done now? Are we done with this? He set his cup down. Because we only have so long before the hierarchs realize what I have done and come in to kill everyone here. Why? Whatever. And then Dahin said, I have a question. Ta-Ren, why shouldn't I sit next to a demon? He turned to Kai. Will I die if I touch you? Again, it's too pure cinnamon roll, too good, too pure for this world. He doesn't understand what bigotry is. That's his character. No, Kai said, eyeing him. He seemed utterly sincere. But don't touch me. Oh. Blinking uncertainly, Dahin folded his hands in his lap. Zidi said to Ta-Ren, that one was your fault. I think this is supposed to be funny, but it's just ridiculous. Now we are on page 134. We've managed to turn the page. It's a fucking miracle. What is my phone at? 29%. It's fine. I think it will tell me if the battery starts to get low. Hopefully. Kai said, Taren, Ziti, fight afterward. Yeah, that's supposed to be funny. These are the kind of interactions that you can have when you are actually on the fourth book in your series, and we actually know these characters and care about them and find their interactions charming and funny instead of just hollow, empty. Like, I can see exactly what she's trying to do here. She's trying. You should put that curtain across. There's just a glare on my glasses. She's trying to do the haha, funny, familiar banter. They fight like an old married couple, which is supposed to be funny because they're gonna be an old married couple in the future, but we're not actually gonna see any of that character development to get there. Let's fucking read the goddamn page 134. That's an unnecessary statement. Bashasa regained his demeanor so easily it was a little disturbing. That's not a statement you need to make. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Shut up. We've managed to get to page 134, 135. Martha Wells thinks using the words light-skinned means she's progressive and not racist, despite all of her racism.
Would you like a commentary?
You're going to get some commentary from my twin, who has not actually read the book and has just heard my commentary.
She just continually...
You have to talk louder or stick your face from behind the cardboard.
She just continually gestures in the direction of white people bad. So, therefore, it'll trick you into thinking she's more progressive than she actually is.
Mm-hmm.
As a white person who doesn't understand how oppression works. Which is why all of her racism, in fantasy racism and oppression, is all strictly justified and backed up by real-world facts within the story.
Like her literally saying that the Native American coded people in this book, which is brand fucking new, from 2023, like saying that they were genocided for doing a thing they actually literally were doing, making deals with demons.
Instead of it being propaganda, racist propaganda in particular.
Now Bashasa continued, these light-skinned people, they think themselves superior, and he's not saying specifically these light-skinned people, they're just saying they, because light-skinned people was introduced in a little non-dialogue section above this. They think themselves superior in all ways and are filled with wild stories about us. I was asked if I had children with my sister and how we picked which ones we would eat. Ah! Oh my god. I was about to fucking say, like, the exact way that Kai just fucking did. Not even that long ago. But then my eyes slipped and I read the next statement, the next tiny little paragraph, without meaning to. I will get to that in a fucking second. So, here we have Martha Wells saying that the light-skinned, aka white people bad, which she's going to use as cover for all of the racism already in this story, says that they are so racist that they think these people do incest and with their sisters, and that they eat their children. When Kai literally just, what was that? Was that even 2 pages ago? When Martha Wells was pretending that people, nomadic, indigenous coded people who live in tents are too stupid to understand the concept of a fucking permanent structure. Kai literally was like, I don't know, maybe the hierarchs eat their family members. And now Martha Wells, just a few pages later, is unironically saying that, oh yeah, saying stuff like that is bad. But you're the one who just did it. And now, to the little tiny paragraph below that I didn't actually mean to read until I said that part. Let me just reread that. They think themselves superior in all ways and are filled with wild stories about us. I was asked if I had children with my sister, and how we picked which ones we would eat. Without thinking, Kai said, like the story that the Seredis sacrificed children to demons.
Even though it's true.
Even though it's literally fucking true. They are literally, maybe they're not sacrificing their children to demons as far as we know, because even Martha Wells had the character admit that they do use victims of murder and give those dead people who were victims of murder to the demons. So there's literally no, like, it's not even only people who volunteer ahead of time are chosen for this. You can just get murdered, then they'll just chuck your fucking body to a demon, whether you wanted it or not. So there's literally no fucking any way at all that we can actually guarantee that Enna wasn't fucking murdered or poisoned, that any of the people were actually, we're not even in any point pretending that Enna was like consenting to any of this. No way at all. We're just told that Enna, the small youth, fucking female child, we're just told that her family members, her elders, wanted this to happen. And that's supposed to make it good, because you gotta respect your elders. We're never even given any hint that this was supposed to have been a consensual thing. That Enna decided for herself that she wanted to volunteer for this when she knew she was dying. Nothing at all. And now we're just being... And then we were told that it is in fact a fact. Observable fucking fact. That they will take murder victims and put a demon in their body. Because I guess they were... They seem so fucking desperate to get their hands on child demons to sex traffic them for a eugenics program. And now we're like, oh yeah, it's such a lie that the Seredis sacrificed children to demons. But we have no proof that they weren't doing that. Because all the other shit that people are saying about them is objectively fucking correct. They are enslaving demons. They are literally sex trafficking demon children and grooming them. Sex slavery for eugenics. That's literally fucking true. And now we're just gonna say, oh yeah, like it's just such a racist myth that they were summoning demons to sacrifice their children for demons. Even though it's literally fucking true. So Martha Wells is literally saying that if you have a problem with the way pedophilia is just treated as no big deal and totally fine, that means you're racist, because she, a white woman who has happily demonstrated racism since the fucking 90s in all of her writing into 2025 and is still doubling down on the fucking racism despite hundreds of people that we know of telling her it's racist. Here's how to fix that. Now she's literally saying, if you think pedophilia and sex trafficking of children is bad, that means you are the same as the people who commit genocide against Native American coded characters. Legitimately, that's what she's going with now. If you think it is bad that the Seredi are literally sex trafficking children, and for all we know, murdering their children to get demon children to go into their bodies for their pedophilic eugenesis program, which there's literally no proof they weren't doing, and there is many implications that there were, because we know they don't care about consent. They will, if you get murdered, they'll chuck a demon into your body. There's no kind of set fucking rules for this shit. They'll just go with whatever. So, if that's true, which we know it is, because she decided to tell us for some fucking reason, then what is stopping anybody from just going out, poisoning a kid, making it look like a sickness, and then look, oh, you got another demon kid for your pedophilic sex slavery eugenics program. Yay! Everybody wins! Except for the dead child and the child who is now being groomed into sex slavery. But it's okay because they're being groomed, so they think it's good. So it's not sex slavery or anything like that. That's that little statement. Like the Sereti, like the story that the Native American coded people sacrificed demons to children. Children to demons, whatever. Fuck you. That's page 135. Exactly like that, Bashasa nodded to him. They think of us as barely better than animals, you know. They mean to slaughter all of us, from the eastern sea to the western, to the far north. They have already slaughtered so many of us. We're now on page 136. Let's see if we can fucking get through this. And I do have to mention, because I am morally fucking obligated to, Kai has been freed from the Cageling Demon Court and has never expressed a single shred of sympathy, or concern, or compassion, or worry, or literally anything at all for any of the demons still stuck in there. He didn't make any friends while he was in there. He didn't sit next to anybody in particular, didn't help anybody. Martha Wells is lacking a basic sense of solidarity and care for other people, so that she literally thinks that slaves will just hate all other slaves and will not even notice their existence. We're supposed to believe that Kai was trapped, as far as the absolute lack of description goes, it seems to be a big courtyard with a cage around the outside, and then all the demons are in this big cage all together. Nobody there tried to comfort what they have to know is a literal child. Nobody tried to protect him. Nobody tried to shield him with their body. Nobody tried to do any of the basic things that people would do if you throw a child into a torture machine with adults. The adults are going to try to protect that child. The adults would be trying to protect each other. People want to protect each other and help each other, but not in Martha Wells' worldview. She thinks that oppressed minorities are all just bitter, cynical individualists who hate all other members of their community and are one of the good ones, unironically. Yeah, Kai has not expressed anything at all about the rest of the demons who have been left in the thing. And it's not like he's in shock or anything. It's not like he's barely fucking aware of anything that's going on. He's perfectly lucid. He's fine. No reaction besides getting a bath, which is supposed to hurt him. I spoke too soon. She's doing it again. She's doing it again. She'll never stop doing it. Kai propped his chin in his hand and watched ants walk along the basin of an empty fucking fountain that's there for some goddamn reason. His part of the plan was simple. Persuade a bunch of pain-maddened demons he had never exchanged a word with before to go and attack the expositors and legionaries and hierarchs. There's no commas in there. And hierarchs in the imperial halls instead of taking the opportunity to escape. Do I even need to explain it? Because I already did before I even read that far, because... So now we are demonizing the other demons and saying that they're just pain-maddened. I will read this whole little section to you. First paragraph. After the talking finished and Bashasa was called away by one of his guards, Kai walked out to the court to sit by the dry weed-choked fountain, period. It was late in the afternoon, the sky growing dimmer somewhere above the heavy gray clouds, period. He propped his chin in his hands and watched ants walk along the basin, period. His part of the plan was simple. ... Persuade a bunch of pain-maddened demons he had never exchanged a word with before to go attack the expositors and legionaries and hierarchs in the imperial halls instead of taking the opportunity to escape. Period. There was not a single comma in that sentence. Let me read that fucking sentence again. His part of the plan was simple. ... Persuade a bunch of pain-maddened demons he had never exchanged a word with before to go and attack the expositors and legionaries and hierarchs in the imperial halls instead of taking the opportunity to escape. That's a whole sentence. That's a sentence. No commas in that sentence at all. That whole thing was the first paragraph. I've read nothing but the first paragraph of this little section because we have a little symbol thing for a line break there. Second paragraph. Other than that, it sounded simple, it sounded as if it would work, period, despite the fact that the map looked like Bashasa had drawn it with his feet, period. Next paragraph. 2 servants came into the court, saw him, and bumped into each other trying to get out of eyeshot, period. Kai was tired of being treated like something corrupted that might infect anyone who got too near, period. I'm closing the book. Again, Martha Wells is a fucking bigot. She literally says she has Kai demonize the other demons. Demonize the other demons. Demonize the other fucking demons. Kai demonizes the other demons by referring to them as just pain-maddened demons. As though them being demons is a thing that makes them bad and dangerous and scary. Could have just said pain-maddened prisoners. But, why are they pain-maddened? Most of them can't even move. That's not pain-maddened. These people should not be able to fight. So she's demonizing the other demons who are currently all locked in the torture room, being sprayed with what is to them acid 24/7. I presume at least some of them have to have been in there for months, weeks, maybe years. We have literally no sense of any passage of time. There's no hints of that at all. Especially because everybody Kai knew was dead, so we can't use any hints of their aging progress to get a sense of time. We have no fucking clue how long it has been since Kai decided to walk through the river and then his cousin, because that was Enna's cousin, who had a crush on Enna and wanted to have sex with Enna. That was her cousin. And that's also just treated as totally normal, that cousins should be getting married and having kids together, despite just now, not like the page before this, having Bashasa say with scorn that the white people bad fantasy Nazis assume that they do incest. But we know that they do incest. Like, we literally know that the Soretti were doing incest because she fucking established that by making sure to refer to them all explicitly as each other's cousins. And not like in a, that's like a cultural term. We have to assume it's literal cousins. So she literally says, she sets up in the very beginning of the book that it's incest and pedophilia and sex trafficking of children. And then says, oh, the fantasy bad people, or the fantasy bad people, the white people bad, now ignore all the racism in the story, they think we do incest. They thought I would have children with my sister. But Martha Wells wanted Kai to have children in the body of a child, as a child, with his cousins. So, and now immediately after demonizing all of the other demons that are still locked in the torture, getting sprayed with acid 24/7 torture cage, after demonizing them and calling them pain-maddened demons, even though most of them can't move. Like, it was specifically stated while he was in there that nobody else is making a single sound because they are all collapsed and comatose from the fucking agony. And now she's like, oh, his part of the plan was simple. And this is the whole run-on sentence again. Persuade a bunch of pain-maddened demons he had never exchanged a word with before to go and attack the expositors, comma, where that should be, and legionaries, another comma should be there, and hierarchs in the imperial halls, should be another comma there, instead of taking the opportunity to escape. So she's not only demonizing the other demons and saying that they'd just be scary and violent to this poor little kid demon, even though we all know that they're all comatose. They can't fucking move. They are going to be in no shape to do any fucking fighting. They are literally just going to need medical attention, AS-fucking-AP. But we're throwing that out. We're pretending they're all just super scary because they're demons. They're pain-maddened demons. Now ignore the part where they're comatose. And then some people walk out and see Kai and then bump into each other in their haste to get away. And Kai was tired of being treated like something corrupted that might infect anyone who got too near. So she's literally just doing the exact same fucking bigoted racist bullshit she does in the Murderbot Diaries, because she hasn't stopped. Bigotry is only bad when it happens to the protagonist. It's totally fine for Kai to demonize the other demons and say they're violent and scary and likely to hurt him, a child demon. Because reasons, even though we know they're comatose from agony and getting tortured for who knows how long. But if people run away from him, that's sad. You should feel bad for him. Unironically, this isn't any kind of commentary on Kai being a bad fucking person. Anything at all. That's page 136. All of that happens between my two fingers there. I hate Martha Wells. I hate her. I hate her guts at this point. I hate her guts. I hate her guts for this. Page 137. Here's this paragraph. There's a tiny paragraph on page 136 that starts. And even if they could rely completely on Bashasa's people, Kai had no idea if he could rouse the other demons and convince them to help. That's that tiny little paragraph. Now the first paragraph that starts on page 137. I hate Martha Wells' guts now. It's official. Hate. I hate her. So many Sereti clans had been destroyed, the demons in the court might have no mortal families to go back to, even if their borrowed bodies weren't worn down by torture and deprivation, period. Fine. Fine. I don't know why we're acting like it's just a rare possibility that their bodies are worn down by torture and deprivation, considering we know they're all comatose. No, what makes me fucking hate her is what comes next. Am I waiting for you?
No.
When they were released, they had no reason to stay and fight, period. They might run, kill as many mortals as they could, period. I hate Martha Wells. She's so fucking racist. I hate her fucking guts now. I hate her. I hate her.
This is unsaid.
This is again. The people who are comatose from being tortured 24/7. Not only do we demonize them on the page 136 and then immediately say, oh, but it's bad when people are scared of Kai, even though he's scared of the other demons who are literally comatose from getting tortured. That's fine when he does it, but you gotta feel bad for him when other people do it to him. And now we immediately make the assumption that if you release these tortured people who are literally comatose, I can't stress it enough, they have been tortured for so long, 24/7, so long, they are comatose. They couldn't fucking move if they fucking wanted to. And now Martha Wells is stating, having her protagonist that we are supposed to empathize with and feel bad for and sympathize with and cheer on. Martha Wells is telling us that if you let them go, they would probably just kill every mortal they meet. Because if you can't free slaves, because then they'll just want revenge. You can't free these people who are comatose from being tortured for so fucking long. Literally dying. Like, literally one of them, not very far away from Kai, was literally fucking dead and rotting on the fucking ground. If you let them go from the torture machine, they might just kill every mortal, implied, innocent white people. The metaphors for innocent white people who had no hand in this slavery. They might just kill. They might run, kill as many mortals as they could, period.
Is this about Guantanamo Bay?
I don't fucking know. She probably doesn't even know what that is. That's page 137. Martha Wells is never going to... She doesn't want to get better. She doesn't want to learn. She doesn't want to actually become anti-racist because she enjoys being fucking racist too much. That's why she would rather defend literal British colonization than just admit that she used racist tropes in 2011 when she published the Books of the Raksura. I want to bite this book again. We're now at probably exactly the halfway point of the fucking thing. Dahin crossed the court and sat down next to Kai, staring at him expectantly. He said, "I've never seen a demon before." Kai lifted a brow. And I'm guessing you're over there slapping the thing because that's exactly from a quote from the Murderbot Diaries, may as well be.
Pretty much. I'm also putting in headphones so I can write.
Kai lifted.
I've seen it before.
I've
never seen a black person before.
Yeah. Dahin crossed the court. Like, that's literally the equivalent of walking up to a black person and saying, "I've never seen a black person before. I've never seen somebody in a wheelchair before. I've never seen a disabled person before. I've never seen a trans person before." Kai lifted a brow. "There's a whole bunch of us chained up in a court not too far from here." "I know, but sister wouldn't let me go look." Dahin shuffled a little closer. "I'm in hiding, too. Sister came here to position the hierarchs not to take me, and they refused to hear it, and Bashasa said he'd hide me for her as long as he could. It's just more stupidity and bullshit for no fucking reason. Blah, blah, blah. Dahin says, I'm in hiding too, so you don't have to worry about me telling anybody that something. It doesn't work here. It doesn't make sense. I'm in hiding too. And if anybody discovers me, if I told anybody about you, a thing that doesn't make sense. Me and my sister would get in trouble and would get punished. And then, punished? Kai echoed. It didn't sound as bad as painful death, which was what everyone else here was facing. Martha Wells is trying to do something. She's trying to make some kind of statement about privilege and shit, but it doesn't fucking work. It's not fucking working, because this is horribly fucking written. Page 138. I'm just gonna read this. It's just more bullshit meant to be edgy, and this is supposed to be a metaphor for oppressed people. Dahin says, "Why is everyone so afraid of demons?" Kai snorted, though it wasn't funny. Where he came from, no one was afraid of demons. We don't die. Dahin looked as if he was unsuccessfully hiding skepticism. That sounds like a superstition. Stories mortals tell each other. How do you know? That was too much. Kai plucked the knife out of Dahin's belt and sliced deep into his own wrist. Dahin's jaw dropped as the gash closed, even as blood welled up. Kai's flesh flowed back together like water. The cut was just a red smear. Oh, Dahin finished. Kai handed the knife back hilt first, and Dahin took it, tucking it back in its sheath. How does it work? Kai was even more annoyed. It's not a trick. And this is a metaphor for oppressed people, because oppressed people are immortal demons who can't be killed. Asking a demon how they know they're immortal is the exact same thing as pestering actual real minorities for extremely personal and obnoxious questions. Totally the same thing, guys. It's really telling that she chose to have Kai slit his wrist for demonstration purposes. A thing that minorities are extremely fucking susceptible to because of bigotry. But sure. Okay, now we are finally getting some basic fucking world building for demon abilities on page 139, when we should have gotten this on the very first time that we traveled into the past. When was that? That we should have gotten this shit on starting on page 26 when we first went to the past timeline. But I guess it's... And now we're finally getting the basic explanations for this shit on page 139. Blah, 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 blah. Demons are malleable in the Under-Earth. Here, that means we can heal so fast, it's hard to hurt us. Even now, when the hierarchs have healed the Under-Earth passages so I can't return there, and the rest of that sentence is stupid and unnecessary. Here, we are malleable in the Under-Earth. Here, that means we can heal so fast, it's hard to hurt us. Dahin's like, so does that mean the other part is true, that you can destroy things with a touch? Kai says, no, not the way mortals think, and he picks a grape leaf from nearby and drains the life out of it so that the leaf turns brown and crumbles and dries. And Dahin's like, oh, okay, so the life force, the energy goes into you? And then Kai says, sort of. Kai didn't understand entirely where it went. When he killed legionaries this way, it just seemed to buzz around in his chest uselessly. And then Dahin's like, well, he says, and you can do that to a whole living thing, an animal, a person? Dahin seemed too far gone in curiosity to know what he was asking. He met Kai's gaze and looked a little abashed. If it or whoever was attacking you, I mean, because we're again pretending that demons are an oppressed minority, because people are scared that they might steal their fucking life force, a thing they do in fact have the ability to do. If demons are oppressed minorities, because oppressed minorities are exactly like soul-sucking demons who get their power from torturing people. Kai says, yes, it's not easy. Dahin nodded. It takes a lot of effort then? No, it's not easy to watch. And yeah, why are we finally getting world building on page 139? This is shit that should have been done at the start of the book. Dahin is asking the basic questions. So, can you reverse the process? Kai frowned. Reverse it? Put the energy back in the leaf. Try it and see what happens. Martha Wells is bad at writing. I don't think she knows what dried leaves look like. She specifically said just half a page ago that the leaf browned, dried, and crumbled between his fingers. If you're a gardener, if you've just ever gone outside and stuff, ever walked through a garden center where they haven't fucking watered anything, if a leaf gets dried, which is this one has, it gets brown and dried, it will turn to dust if you crinkle it. That's how you get tea. Tea is dried leaves. Go fucking... But now Dahin is just picking up the dried leaf. Supposedly the exact same one that Kai just killed, even though that crumbled in his fingers. It's dust now, because that's what happens when you suck all of the moisture and life out of a leaf. You can turn it into dust. We are told it crumbled in his fingers. It turned into dust. I can't demonstrate because we don't have any dried leaves as far as I know. Trust me. But then, Dahin shifted excitedly, leaning over and plucked the dead leaf out of the fountain, the dry fountain bed. It's not the same leaf because that one turned into dust, but whatever. Oh, we do have a leaf. Well, okay. Are these nice leaves though, or aren't we supposed to eat these?
They're wrong.
Okay, alright. We have a leaf. Forgot about this.
There's a difference between a
Can
leaf
I make-
that is dead
Can I
and
do
a leaf
it
that
for the
is
camera? Look, here's a dried leaf. This one's not dry enough. It's not going to work. This one's not dry enough. So you can just put this back over there. Just take my word for it and go outside. If you've had a drought recently, go outside and pick up a dried leaf. Pick up a dried brown leaf. Crumble it. It's a basic fact of anything ever. Alright? Just take my fucking word for it, okay? The leaf he drained of energy got crumbled into dust. But now we're told Dahin is picking up the leaf. Not another leaf, not a dead leaf. The leaf. And handing it back to Kai. And saying, can you reverse it? Can you put energy back in it? And then, frowning, he took the dried leaf back. Even though you can't do that unless you're picking up a whole pile of leaf pieces because you crumbled it into dust. That's just, it's such a basic fucking thing, and it's wrong. The leaf unfurled, green threading through its veins, so the answer is yes. He can reverse the process. Even with a leaf that he crumbled into fucking dust, it's magically healed. But we're ignoring the part where it crumbled into dust. It's not that the dust recoalesced into the leaf as though it had never blah. No. It's page 140.
That could have worked if he'd simply sucked the moisture out of it, leaving it limp.
Yeah.
But not when it's dead and brown.
And crumbled. It's specifically, I'll even read it again. Kai plucked a leaf from one of the vines currently prying at the fountain's rim and held it up. As he drained the tiny spark of life from the leaf, it browned and dried and crumbled between his fingers. So yeah, he can bring things back to life. He's probably never going to before. He's never going to. Yeah, we are literally just doing world building and asking the basic questions on page 140. This far into the goddamn book. Now Dahin is asking the next basic question. Okay, we've established you can put the leaf back into the energy. You can put the energy back into the leaf you took it from. Now, can you put that energy in a different leaf? And he's going around on the ground looking for a different dead leaf.
This is something Kai could have been doing as a kid.
It's something he should have literally been doing. Yeah, that was on page like 26 or 27. This is literally what should have been happening at the start of the book when we get introduced to Kai in chronological order, as most chronological that we're gonna get when he's a kid. This is experiments they should have all been doing. And we're supposed to pretend that none of the adult demons who were around back then ever bothered to learn any of these basic questions, and it takes another person to point this out. And I think Dahin is like actually a white person. His eyes were described as so blue it seemed unnatural. So like Martha Wells, are you now having a white person white-splain the oppressed minorities metaphors own minority thing to them? And Martha Wells is annoying, so she's interrupting this scene that's... So we're not going to get the answer to, can he put energy back in a different leaf and bring a leaf that he had nothing to do with back to life, because we're interrupting the fucking scene. We finally get some actual world building, because this is the difference between just throwing shit at us and doing world building. This is us seeing the characters doing this shit. We are actually learning... What?
A lot of the reviews mention this, that they start getting little tidbits and then it gets yanked away just as fast.
Yeah. This is right here on page 140. It took us page 140 fucking pages. almost halfway through now. More than a third of the way through. It took this long to actually get some basic world building. This is what is world building. Actually learning with the fucking characters as it's happening how this magic system works. And now it's already being taken away from us. We are literally just stopping right before it could actually get interesting. We could and should have an entire chapter dedicated to this. But no, we gotta just fucking stupid shit's going on. Some soldiers came in and everybody tense, but then Bashasa made a gesture and blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Page 141. An expositor walked into the court. And okay, before I get to the bad part, that's a single little sentence, and that single little sentence takes up a paragraph. That's correct. That's correct. That's how you set up tension if we had any reason to be scared of expositors, which we literally do not. If we had any reason to actually be concerned for these characters, which we do not. That's technically correct. That's how you set up tension. When you are trying to set up tension and say scary things are happening, you don't have huge paragraphs of description. You shorten everything, like the beating of a heart. Boom, 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 boom. Your heart is speeding up. Boom. A xenomorph walked through the door. A xenomorph dropped down from the fucking ceiling. An expositor walked into the court. That would be great if we were actually scared of expositors. We're not. They all die. The expositor that was gonna enslave Kai died on page 6.5. They're not scary. The next part is Bashasa was telling them, he was first telling them, okay, just go to Ziti, she'll hide you, and then another person ran out ahead of the expositor. A servant came out and just stares at them with terror, saying, nope, don't fucking go anywhere, the guy's right fucking behind me. And then Bashasa's like, shit, fuck, God, fuck, just lower your eyes to the ground and pretend. And then he gets interrupted by the expositor walking into the court, and it's like, okay, good. That would be scary if they were scary. They're not scary. I don't give a shit. Now's the bad part. We're doing it again on page 141. Let me check the battery. How quickly do I... 11% shit. Kai had no idea... No, we're just going to end it there because my phone is going to tell me I'm going to die any second now. So you'll just have to wait in suspense or open the book yourself. Bye. I got to plug this in.